Valera sat alone in the mapping chamber, her 3 fingers moving across the glowing screens. It was late in the station's night cycle, and most of the other cartographers had gone to rest. She preferred working in silence, updating the galaxy's star charts without interruption. The Sector 7G scan results appeared on her display. Valera yawned and prepared to mark it as empty space, just like the previous 1,000 scans. Then she stopped. Her eyes widened. There were coordinates where nothing should exist. She ran the scan again. The same results appeared. A star system with 9 planets orbiting a yellow sun. Valera checked the location data 3 more times, her heart's beginning to beat faster. The coordinates matched something in the ancient database. Something impossible. She opened the old files with shaking hands. The location matched the legendary system called Sol. The 3rd planet was listed as Terra. Every child in the galaxy knew the stories about Earth. Parents told tales of the mythical death world to frighten misbehaving youngsters. A planet where gravity crushed your bones. Where storms destroyed entire cities in minutes. Where the oceans held monsters with teeth as long as your arm. Where the dominant species evolved as pack hunters who chased their prey until the poor creature's heart exploded from exhaustion. Behave or the humans will hunt you, parents would say when children refused to sleep. But Earth was just a story. A myth. It had to be. Valera's security clearance barely allowed her into the restricted archives, but she had to know more. What she found made her feel sick. Mission reports from 800 cycles ago. Probes sent to investigate the forbidden spiral arm. Every single probe had vanished. No data returned. No signals received. Just silence. The files were marked in red warning symbols. Avoid Sol 3 at all costs. Do not approach forbidden sector. Danger. Extreme classification. She saved all the data to a secure chip and requested an emergency meeting with the council speaker. Morgan was old even for a Kellian. He had served on the council for 40 years and had seen almost everything. But when Valera showed him the data, even his calm expression cracked. This cannot be real, Morgan said, studying the coordinates. Terra is a myth. A children's tale. Then explain the coordinates, Valera replied. Explain why our probes disappeared 800 years ago. Explain the warning files. Morgan was silent for a long moment. I will call the council together. This requires more minds than mine. The emergency session began 6 hours later. 12 species sent their representatives. The chamber buzzed with confusion and skepticism. Counselor Brennan, an Evolian mathematician, was the first to speak. The probability of a Class 12 death world supporting intelligent life is 0.0003%. The probability of that species achieving space travel is effectively 0. This is clearly a sensor malfunction. Our sensors do not malfunction, Valera insisted. I have checked the data 17 times. Perhaps an old probe is still transmitting false signals, suggested another counselor. Then explain the restricted files, Valera countered. Explain why our ancestors marked this sector as forbidden. They saw something. They knew something. The debate continued for hours. Most counselors wanted to dismiss the findings. It was easier to believe in a glitch than to accept that the nightmare from children's stories might be real. But Speaker Morgan raised his hand for silence. We have 2 choices. We ignore this data and wonder forever what we missed. Or we send a small reconnaissance mission to investigate. A volunteer crew on a diplomatic vessel. They will confirm the sensor error and we can all rest easier. And if it is not an error, someone asked quietly. Then we will deal with that situation when it arrives, Morgan replied. But I believe we will find empty space and faulty sensors. Nothing more. The vote was close, but the council agreed. They would send a ship. The Harmonious Accord was selected for the mission. It was small, fast, and designed for first contact situations. Captain Richard volunteered to lead the expedition. He was experienced and cautious, perfect for confirming a simple sensor glitch. As the crew prepared for departure, Valera watched from the observation deck. Part of her hoped they would find nothing. Just empty space and broken equipment. That would be safe, comfortable. But another part of her, the part that had spent her life mapping the unknown, hoped the coordinates were real. She wanted to know the truth about Earth, even if the truth was terrifying. The Harmonious Accord launched 3 days later, jumping into hyperspace toward Sector 7G. Toward the coordinates of the mythical Deathworld. Toward Earth. The Harmonious Accord dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. Captain Richard gripped his command chair as the ship's systems adjusted to normal space. Around him, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. Navigation report, Richard ordered. Alice, the Kellyan navigator, studied her screens with growing concern. Captain, the radiation levels from that star are extremely high. Much higher than any system we have visited before. Can our shields handle it? Yes, but we should not stay long. Prolonged exposure would damage our systems and harm the crew. Richard nodded. Proceed carefully. Take us deeper into the system. As the ship moved forward, strange readings appeared on every screen. The third planet showed an electromagnetic field stronger than anything in their databases. And there were objects everywhere in the space around it. Captain, called Emma from the communication station. I am detecting thousands of artificial satellites orbiting the third planet. The bridge fell silent. Artificial meant someone built them. Someone intelligent. Someone who lived here. Dr. Thomas, the ship's xenobiologist, pulled up detailed scans of the third planet. What he saw made all four of his eyes open wide in shock. Captain, you need to see this, Thomas said, his voice shaking. The data appeared on the main screen. Everyone stared in disbelief. The planet's atmospheric pressure at sea level would crush most species. The oxygen content was 21%, which was poison to half the crew. Weather systems showed storm cells with winds faster than most ships could fly. The surface had volcanoes actively erupting. Earthquakes were common. 71% of the surface was covered in liquid water, with some areas deeper than 10,000 meters. This is a Class 12 death world, Thomas whispered. Everything about this planet is designed to kill anything that lives there. Then how do you explain those? Alice pointed at her screen, which showed massive cities covering the continents. Light patterns indicated millions of structures. Roads and pathways connected everything. Agriculture stretched across vast areas. Richard felt his skin go cold. Someone is living down there. Someone survived that nightmare. Captain, Emma interrupted, her voice high with stress. I am picking up transmissions. Thousands of them. Actually, millions of them. What kind of transmissions? Emma worked her controls frantically. I am detecting 7,246 different languages. Billions of individual communication signals. They have something called the Internet connecting billions of devices. And they are broadcasting music, images, stories. Cultural information going out into space. She isolated one transmission and played it through the speakers. A calm voice spoke in an unknown language. The translator worked for a moment, then provided the words. Houston, this is the International Space Station. We are beginning docking procedure now. Everything looks good from up here. The bridge crew stared at each other in horror. They are already in space, Richard said quietly. Whatever evolved on that planet learned how to escape it. Dr. Thomas pulled up every file they had about Deathworld species. The pattern was always the same. When a species evolved on a hostile world, it became aggressive, territorial, and dangerous. Such species saw others as either threats or food. They took what they wanted by force. Captain, Thomas said carefully, if humans truly evolved on that death world below us, we may be looking at the most dangerous predator species the galaxy has ever known. Every instinct tells me we should leave immediately. Richard considered the options. They could jump back to hyperspace right now. Return to the council and report what they found. Let someone else deal with the problem. But they had come this far. And the council needed real information, not cowardice. Prepare a first contact package, Richard ordered. Standard protocols. Mathematical proofs, peaceful greetings, request for dialogue. We will see if they want to talk. And if they respond with weapons? Alice asked. Then we jump to hyperspace and warn the council that Earth is hostile. Emma prepared the transmission. It contained universal mathematical constants, images showing peaceful intent, and a simple request to communicate. The message was broadcast on multiple frequencies toward the planet. Message sent, Emma reported. Now we wait. How long do first contact responses usually take? Asked Alice. Days usually, Richard replied. Sometimes weeks if the species is cautious. 4 hours later, Emma nearly fell from her station. Captain. We have responses. Over 300 of them. 300 governments responding? Richard asked, confused. No, sir. 300 different sources. Universities. Amateur astronomers. Military installations. Research stations. Even individuals. They all saw us. The entire planet knows we are here. Richard felt his hands begin to shake. Earth was real. Humans were real. And they had just invited the galaxy's nightmare species to make contact. A coordinated message arrived 6 hours after the first responses. It came from something called the United Nations. Richard found the name confusing. Why would separate nations need to unite? On most civilized worlds there was one government, one voice, one system. The message was clear and welcoming. Earth invited them to land at a neutral location in a place called Switzerland. Coordinates were provided along with assurances of safety and peaceful intentions. "They want us to come down there," Alice said nervously. "To the surface of that death world." Richard made his decision. Prepare for landing. But keep the engines ready for immediate departure if needed. The descent through Earth's atmosphere was the most terrifying experience of Richard's life. The gravity pulled at him with crushing force. Even with the ship's artificial gravity compensators working at full power, he felt his bones creaking under the pressure. His breath came in short gasps. Dr. Thomas required a full mechanical exoskeleton just to stand upright. 2 other crew members needed similar assistance. Earth's gravity was nearly twice what their bodies were designed for. They landed in a large open field surrounded by enormous mountains. The view outside was beautiful and horrible at the same time. The colors were too bright, too vivid. The sky was a blue that hurt to look at. Everything felt too real, too intense, too alive. A group of humans approached the ship. Richard's first thought when he saw them was simple and terrifying. Predators. Their eyes faced forward, giving them depth perception for hunting. Their mouths could open wide, showing white teeth designed for tearing. They had powerful limbs built for running long distances. Their skin came in different shades, adapted to various levels of the star's radiation. They moved with the smooth efficiency of hunters who never wasted energy. One human stepped forward from the group. She was female, tall by human standards, with dark skin and kind eyes. She opened her mouth in what the translator called a friendly smile. The sight of those exposed teeth made 3 crew members faint immediately. The human's expression changed instantly to concern. She called out to the other humans and they rushed forward with supplies. They brought water, medical equipment, and chairs. They were trying to help. "I am Dr. Patricia Williams," the human said, her voice surprisingly gentle. "On behalf of humanity, welcome to Earth. Are your crew members all right? Do you need medical assistance?" Richard was stunned. This apex predator from a planet designed to kill was worried about them? "We are fine," Richard managed to say. "Your gravity is very strong for us." "Of course. I should have thought of that," Patricia said quickly. "We have prepared accommodations with adjustable gravity fields. Please, can we offer you anything? Water? Food? We were not sure what your species needs, so we prepared many different options." The humans guided them to a facility that had been prepared for their arrival. Richard noticed hundreds of other humans watching from a distance. They held devices pointed at the aliens, taking pictures and recordings. But they stayed back, giving space, not threatening. Despite being surrounded by evolved predators, Richard felt strangely safe. Inside the facility, Dr. Patricia explained Earth's situation. The planet had multiple governments, not one. Hundreds of separate nations with different cultures and languages. They cooperated through complex agreements and treaties, but they were not fully united yet. "We still have conflicts," Patricia admitted. "Wars happen, though we are working hard to prevent them. Resources are not distributed fairly yet, but we are improving. We make mistakes, but we try to learn from them." Richard looked at this human and felt his understanding shift. She was talking about cooperation and improvement, about learning and growing. These were not the words of mindless killing machines. "May I ask," Richard said carefully, "how did your species survive long enough to build civilization? Your planet is extremely hostile." Patricia smiled again, though this time Richard did not find it as frightening. "We survived by working together. One human alone on Earth will die quickly. But humans in groups, humans cooperating and sharing knowledge, we became unstoppable." Over the next few days the crew learned more about humans. They discovered that humans kept animals as companions for emotional support. They created art and music for beauty, not function. They wrote stories and poems. They had philosophies about kindness and justice. But they also learned about human recreational activities. Humans jumped from flying aircraft for fun. They climbed dangerous cliffs without purpose. They ran incredible distances just to challenge themselves. They ate spicy peppers that caused pain simply because they enjoyed it. "Why would you do these things?" asked Brennan, who had joined the mission as an observer. Patricia thought for a moment. "Because we can. Because it makes us feel alive. Humans need challenges. When life becomes too easy, we create our own difficulties." Richard realized something important. Earth had not created monsters. It had created survivors so tough and adaptable that they turned a nightmare world into a home. And despite everything their planet had done to them, They had chosen to be kind. That night, Richard sent a message back to the council. It contained only 5 words. Earth is real. Humans are friends. Dr. Patricia took the crew on a carefully planned tour of Earth over the next week. Every location came with strict safety measures to protect the alien visitors from the planet's dangers. The first stop was the ocean. They stood inside a reinforced underwater observation facility, watching the water through thick glass. Massive creatures called whales swam past, each one larger than their entire ship. The crew watched in silent awe as these giants moved gracefully through the crushing depths. These are the gentle ones, Patricia explained. They eat tiny creatures called krill, mostly harmless to humans. Then she showed them video footage of other ocean life. Sharks with rows of razor teeth that replaced themselves constantly. Jellyfish that could kill with a single touch. Fish that hunted in coordinated packs like military squadrons. Octopuses that could change color and squeeze through impossibly small spaces. And humans swim in this water? Alice asked, her voice filled with horror. Voluntarily? Oh yes, Patricia said cheerfully. Swimming is very popular. Some people surf, riding waves for enjoyment. Others dive deep underwater to explore. Some even swim with sharks. Dr. Thomas fainted. The medical team had to revive him with oxygen. Back on land, Patricia showed them a nature documentary about African lions. The crew watched in disturbed silence as a pride of lions worked together to hunt a large animal. The coordination was perfect. The strategy was flawless. They separated the weak from the herd and brought it down through teamwork. This is what humans evolved alongside? Richard asked quietly. Lions are actually one of the safer large animals, Patricia replied. Would you like to learn about hippopotamuses? They kill more humans than lions do. Or crocodiles. Or the wildlife in Australia. The crew politely declined. They had seen enough. The next lesson was about invisible threats. Patricia explained bacteria, viruses, parasites, and fungi. Microscopic organisms that lived everywhere, including inside human bodies. Your immune system fights a war every single second of every day, Patricia said. Against millions of tiny invaders trying to make you sick. It never stops. Not even when you sleep. The concept horrified the crew. They lived in mostly sterile environments. The idea of constant biological warfare happening inside their bodies was nightmare fuel. Then came the revelation about human recreation. Patricia showed them videos of skydiving. Humans jumping from aircraft thousands of meters in the air, falling at terminal velocity, opening a parachute at the last moment. For fun? Brennan asked weakly. For fun, Patricia confirmed. She showed them rock climbing. Humans scaling vertical cliff faces using only their hands and feet, sometimes without safety ropes. She showed them marathons. Humans running over 42 kilometers just to prove they could. She showed them eating competitions. Humans consuming incredibly spicy peppers that contain capsaicin, a chemical designed by plants to cause pain and prevent being eaten. Why? Brennan finally shouted. Why would you voluntarily do these things? Patricia considered the question seriously. Because we evolved solving problems. Overcoming obstacles. When life gets too easy, we get bored. So we create our own challenges. We need to feel like we are pushing our limits. The phrase adrenaline junkie took 20 minutes to explain. The crew struggled to understand why anyone would want to trigger their danger response on purpose. The hospital visit was equally disturbing. Patricia walked them through the emergency ward, explaining that most injuries came not from Earth trying to kill humans, but from what humans did to themselves. Sports injuries from playing aggressive games. Extreme recreation accidents from unnecessary risks. Work-related trauma from dangerous jobs. Vehicle collisions from traveling at high speeds. You do this to yourselves? Alice asked in disbelief. Usually by accident, Patricia admitted. Sometimes through violence, though we are working hard to reduce that. The final breakthrough came when Valera asked the question that had bothered her since the beginning. How did your species survive long enough to build civilization? Patricia's expression became serious. She pulled up archaeological and biological records on a display screen. Persistence hunting, she began. Humans can run for hours without stopping. We chase prey until it collapses from exhaustion. Almost no other animal on Earth can do this. She showed them more data. Sweat cooling systems that let humans regulate temperature while running. Throwing accuracy that no other species matched. Cooperative behavior that allowed groups to accomplish what individuals could not. Pattern recognition, Patricia continued. Humans see patterns everywhere. We connect dots that might not be connected. We imagine threats that might not exist. Some call it paranoia. We call it survival. She showed them human tool creation. Simple rocks shaped into blades. Sticks fashioned into spears. Fire controlled and used for warmth and cooking. We did not just survive Earth, Patricia said quietly. We conquered it. Through stubbornness and refusing to give up. This planet tried to kill us every single day for millions of years. We learned to kill it back. Then we learned to protect it. Now we are trying to heal the damage we caused. Richard finally understood. Earth had not created monsters. It had created survivors so adaptable and relentless that they turned a death world into a garden. And now those survivors were offering friendship to the galaxy. News of Earth's discovery spread through the Galactic Council faster than a solar flare. Within days, every species in the galaxy knew the truth. The mythical Deathworld was real. Humans were real. And they wanted to join galactic society. The debates began immediately and grew heated. They are apex predators from a Class 12 death world. Counselor Wallace shouted during the emergency session. Allowing them into our peaceful society is dangerous and foolish. They are also artists and philosophers, Counselor James argued back. Have you reviewed their cultural broadcasts? Their music is beautiful. Their literature is profound. They have been sending it into space for decades, hoping someone would hear. That means nothing, Wallace countered. Predators can be cunning. This could be a trap. The council chamber erupted in arguments. Some species were terrified of humans. Others were fascinated. Nobody could agree on what to do. Then the Krell Empire made their move. The Krell were the closest thing the peaceful galaxy had to an aggressive species. They were territorial and militaristic, always testing boundaries and pushing for more resources. For years, they had been pressuring the council over mining rights in the outer territories. Now they issued an ultimatum. The council had 30 days to cede 3 contested star systems to Krell control. If the council refused, the Krell would take the systems by force. The council had no military. They had enjoyed peace for thousands of years. Disputes were settled through discussion and economic agreements. Against actual military aggression they had no answer. Panic filled the council chambers. Some species suggested giving the Krell what they wanted. Others proposed economic sanctions that everyone knew would not work. Then Ambassador David from Earth requested permission to speak. David was a middle-aged human male with gray hair and calm eyes. He had been chosen specifically because he looked non-threatening by human standards. The council had learned that some humans looked much more intimidating. We have reviewed the situation with the Krell Empire, David said quietly. We understand your concern. We would like to offer assistance. What could you possibly offer? Wallace demanded. Weapons? Violence? That is exactly why we fear your species. No, David replied simply. We offer perspective. He activated a holographic display showing Earth's history. Not the pleasant parts. The wars. The conflicts. The times humans nearly destroyed themselves. Cities burning. Weapons of terrible power. Millions dead. The council watched in horrified silence. We have lived our entire existence fighting, David explained. Fighting Earth. Fighting each other. We learned cooperation because we had to. Because alone Earth would kill us. We learned peace because war on a death world means extinction. Every resource wasted on conflict was one we could not use to survive our planet. He paused, looking at each council member. But we also learned that sometimes, survival means standing up to bullies. Not because we want to fight. Because backing down just means dying slower. We know this from experience. The council debated for 12 hours. Finally, they agreed to let Earth send a diplomatic message to the Krell Empire. The message was simple and direct. Greetings from Earth, third planet of the Sol system. We have been informed of your territorial dispute with the Galactic Council. As the newest species under consideration for membership, we wanted to introduce ourselves properly. Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world. We evolved through persistence hunting and cooperative tactics. We have survived ice ages, supervolcano eruptions, asteroid impacts, and our own worst impulses. We have been fighting impossible odds since before we discovered fire. We strongly encourage peaceful resolution of all disputes. We understand the true cost of conflict better than most species. Please reconsider your current position. We are certain productive dialogue is possible. Humanity looks forward to meeting the Krell as friends and partners rather than through unfortunate circumstances. The Krell Military Command received the message and began researching Earth immediately. They found the nature documentaries showing how humans hunted. They found historical records of human warfare. They learned about human physiology and the concept of persistence hunting. They discovered that humans literally chased prey animals until the creature's heart gave out from exhaustion. They learned that humans had created weapons capable of destroying their entire planet, then chose not to use them. 3 days later, the Krell withdrew their ultimatum. Their response was polite and diplomatic. They expressed interest in future cultural exchanges and mutually beneficial trade agreements. The territorial dispute could be resolved through proper negotiation. Earth was formally inducted into the Galactic Council 2 months later. The ceremony was attended by representatives from every member species. Valera stood in the audience, watching as Ambassador David accepted Earth's membership on behalf of humanity. "We come not as conquerors," David said during his speech. "We come as friends. We survived the unsurvivable. We learned to be kind despite living on a planet that showed us no kindness. Now we offer that strength to the galaxy. When you need someone to stand beside you against impossible odds, humans will be there." The council chamber erupted in applause. Not everyone was comfortable with humans yet, but everyone respected them. Valera updated the official star charts that night. Earth's designation now read, Tier 1 Ally World. Handle with care. Friendly Deathworlders. She smiled as she saved the file. The myth had become reality. And reality was better than anyone had imagined.